Welcome back. This is Will at Work. I'm Kevin. This is pretty rare. I have not seen one of these myself in the wild until recently. I got it from a Japanese auction, and no one, I guess, is crazy enough to buy these things other than me and maybe a few others. Or people just didn't care. This is a Visicom video computer system by Toshiba, and it is I don't know if I want to call it like a clone, because let me explain, but it started off as a clone. Let's say that. It is it's very old, although this one is really nice and clean and well put together. These controllers are removable, and you'll notice that it looks like a number pad. And if you recall, what other system looked like it had a number pad for controls? Well, that was the RCA Studio 2, which we looked at really early in this series. This was licensed from RCA, I believe, with their RCA technology. But Toshiba then made it so that it would be in color, and I'm not quite sure, but I believe they also released additional titles for it. And because it is in color and was redesigned, the cartridge port is not compatible with the RCA Studio 2. The games are different. Now, they licensed some of the games. I don't know how many. So they put them onto their own cartridge format. So in some ways, it's a lot like how they did, or it's like the very earliest of how they did those Pong systems that had different shapes of cartridges but the same games. Difference here is that they added their own special color graphics to these titles and chipset, and therefore made a sort of like a later revision of the Studio 2. So I count that as a different system. It's different games. Yeah. But what's weird about it, of course, is that I doubt this sold very well. It has this crazy number pad, although this is far and away better than the Studio 2 that I have, which has everything on the unit itself. These guys, said, yeah, we're going to make it so these are removable. This is a large scale integrate right there. Model C-100. Oops, sorry there, the camera lost its battery. I had to swap it out. So it has built-in games. I believe that's what this is indicating up here, which ones you can play, etc. I could use the translation app on here since I don't know Japanese. If I can bring this back a little bit, you can see the cartridge port in the rear. It looks like it's got some venting here and here, and I'm thinking probably sound comes out of this unit itself. I believe that's what happened with the RCA Studio 2. Yeah, and there's a VHF channel 1, channel 2 switch on the back right here. So, yeah, we'll switch over to the video side, and we'll see if we can get a picture out of this. It's really old, and, it's possible, even though it's very clean, that we might not get one, because it's always a bit tricky with Japanese television signals especially. But we've been having a pretty good track record with these things. I do have the adapter and everything, so let's give it a shot. And for some reason I can't get a picture at all. We'll jump back here and we'll talk about what might be wrong with it. Here we go. Visicom, you can see kind of a brown line. It took me forever to figure out if this was working. screen is like real stable, but all it had to begin with was this brown dot, which looks like it's some sort of paint program. Don't think it's like Tron Deadly Disc or anything, or Cycle. That's how you change colors, I guess. 0 changes colors. Okay, let's reset it. Let's try game number 2. All right, I think we saw this. This is like bowling. We saw this on the RCA Studio 2 in black and white. I'm not sure what button to hit here. Number 5. This is like the worst bowling game ever. Like, doesn't even hit, like, doesn't even knock a pin sideways or anything. It's just wherever you get the big block to go. That's the pins you're going to get. Really? Wonder if I could steer it or something. Wonder if it's that advanced. I was reading online that supposedly the hardware in this thing is better than like the 2600 or something, but I mean, it never turned out to be. Kind of weird. All right, let's see what the third game is on here. Is that paint? Yeah. Oh, we got a racing car game. It's weird, it's hard to tell which controller I'm supposed to use. I choose the game with the left one, and then I play with the right one. Sound is really weak though, right? It's just some beeps. I would not say this is better than Atari, even if this is early days type stuff. It's terrible. Yeah, that's 4. Five is nothing, I guess. At least even on the front of the machine, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So 6 is also nothing. It makes a lot of sense. And then 7. It's probably like bank 7, and the other 2 were taken up by something. But this I can't even understand, like what this is. It's like hold on. Let's see. I can use the Google Translator app here. Let's see what this says this is. Translate. Japanese to English. It says addition. Oh, so we have to add 3 plus 1 is 4, 7. Oh, I got 6 points. 2. 14 points. 0 for player 2. I guess for kids. Again, they didn't know what they were doing back then. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know if people were going to buy these things to be educational, if they were going to sell games, if they were going to become computers. There was just no... They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't even have joysticks. It was a number pad. So early. So interesting, just the decision processes that, went into these things. And, none of it is tied to, like, arcade games. The thing about thing about arcade games, if I'm going to reflect here really quickly why these numbers appear on the screen. The thing about arcade games back in the day, when I was very, very young, was that before there were video games, there were still games that were like in cabinets and things, and also, you know, in other types of things that were like parlor games. So you might have a gun that shot out an actual mechanical ball, and things would pop up in the background and you would hit them for points. You might have a car that's connected to a rod, and some drum would spin, you know, to make it look like a road, and some obstacles would appear and you would move the car back and forth. And there were a lot of these kinds of games. They weren't just like one or two. There were a lot of these mechanical games that required a fair bit of engineering to make them work. And like those, of course, never got into the home or anything. And so, like, when they started to do, you know, video games, and the video game craze, you know, happened mainly when Space Invaders became a thing. A lot of these companies, you know, wanted to jump onto this Pong and Space Invaders bandwagon and try and get money from it. But like I think by the time you got to Space Invaders, you kind of knew where we were at. Like, you kind of knew that it's about video games. It's about the game, fighting creatures, you know. Eventually you get to Pac-Man. Big deal with Pac-Man. There's even a song on the radio about it. Before Space Invaders, with these kinds of games, they were easily cloned in arcades. You know, these race games, and they were like all of these things, like including Pong, were kind of just like parlor games is the best way to describe it. And they were just done with, you know, a video thing. So any of these companies coming into it were like, well, we can make these same simple parlor games, you know, on our machines, you know, and we can do a race game and a bike game and a poker or whatever. And everybody's like, yeah, we can do that too. And, you know, so they build all these different machines. But then once you get to like, well, Space Invaders and Pac-Man and all these other like arcade games that had more complexity to them, well, then you need like some real like some programming knowledge. And some companies had it and some companies didn't. Some companies just decided, yeah, we're not going to keep doing this because not every home is out buying one of these things to put in their living room to play some parlor games. Now it's becoming something, you know, a lot more commercial, a lot bigger. People want to have exclusive licenses to certain things. And that's kind of what Atari was also doing, is they came out and started signing exclusive deals with a lot of companies so that their games would only appear on Atari. So, yeah. Anyway. Visicom, it works. It's got a nice clean display. It's a really clean unit. It's really nice. I wish I had a box for it, but as far as these things go, they're pretty rare and obscure, so it's nice to get one in this good a condition just to begin with, especially when it's coming up from the other side of the planet. Thanks for watching.